Start at a 50,000 US dollar per year salary as a gaming creator? This isn't clickbait. All three of us have done it. This is social media management. It's a skill that you probably already have but didn't even know that can help you transition out of your job, out of your part-time job, your full-time job, and actually make a living working from home as a full-time gaming creator. We all do it. Look at us. We're at our homes making a living doing this. We're going to tell you everything you need to know about this in terms of your goals, how much money you can be making doing this realistically, way more than 50,000 by the way. What does a social media manager actually do? What skills do you need? And how do you actually book gigs and get jobs? This could be your path out of that crap job or that future that you're not excited about. This is the Digital Drop Podcast. These are real facts. This is the #1 podcast for gaming creators where we help you make gaming content full-time. And my name's Andrew Wall, aka AWall, and I have managed social media professionally from home for nearly 10 years. And I'm making 6 figures doing it. But these guys right here, they're balling out. They're quadrillionaires. Starting with Andrew Perrin, aka Ashroll. What's going on, buddy?
I wish I was a quadrillionaire. That I probably would just do this podcast and that's it then. But no, I'm social media manager for just about as long, almost a decade, with no prior experience to it other than that. I'm doing pretty well. Glad to be back on the show.
We are so serious about this that Andrew Perrin is offering his email. If you want to ask him questions, if you want to book him to manage your socials, email him. ashraldigital@gmail.com. We've never given you his email before. ASHRAL digital@gmail.com. This pro will actually help you or help your company. He'll do advertising for you. He'll run your Twitter. He'll even give you a few tips on how you can get gigs. Ross A. Dillon is also in the house. Twitter juggernaut and all that good stuff. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. I also am not a, what did you say, quadrillionaire?
Quadrillionaire.
Is that it? Quadrillionaire. Oh, okay. My bad. Yeah. I used to be, but after taxes, I was like $500. So.
Yeah, definitely. You should pull a Bezos and pay 0 taxes. Ross is also offering his email to you guys. Because this is the thing I think we're the most credible at, is actually doing this for a living. So we want to help you guys.
Offering up our emails.
His email is, yeah, here's his actual email. Ross
Let's do it. Here,
A. Dillon, DILLON @gmail.com. That is his actual email. Email him. He will help you. He will run socials for your company. He'll freaking do it. So let's go, baby. This is what we're talking about here. It's a
true
fact.
story. And thank you for spelling out my name, because for some reason nobody can spell Dillon. So I'm really glad that I didn't have to, because you did. Thank you.
Do they spell it Dillion, like with an I?
Yes.
Or how do they misspell
and I don't get it. It's always with an I. ION. It makes no sense.
I kind of get that for some reason. I don't know why, but I get it. It makes sense to me.
Delion.
I've been used to
Mr.
it my whole
Delion.
life. It is what it is.
Delion.
Delion, yes. Mr. Digital, Mr. Delion.
Well, you know what? Your goal is to become a full-time gaming creator, right? So you're probably wondering, why the hell are we talking about social media management? You're like, shouldn't we be cracking the YouTube algorithm? No, listen to me. Like, the majority of creators that I've worked with and known that have gone full-time and are working from home right now replace their job and their income with an actual real job and paying gig just on the internet. Managing YouTube channels as a writer, as an editor, as a graphic designer, as a social media manager, as a digital marketing freelancer. That's the way that almost everyone does it. The rare exception that you see out there is the YouTuber or Twitch streamer that makes enough money through YouTube ads and Patreon and subs to completely replace all of their bills that they're paying, okay? So this is how you actually make this happen. So if you don't want to hear about it, cool. Please leave. Everybody else who wants to actually make this thing happen and work from home like we are, here's how you do it. You need that reliable revenue stream to transition out of your job, especially if you have a family, if you have a wife, you got debt, bills to pay, that type of thing. You can't be fluctuating with Twitch subs and YouTube rev to pay your bills. That's crazy talk. Stop thinking like that. That should be one of many revenue streams. So Ross, how did you transition out of like a 9-to-5 traditional job and get that reliable revenue stream on the internet? What did that look like for you?
Well, it actually started. The first thing I did was number one, before you leave any job, make sure you have something else lined up. That should be the first thing said. So what I did is I made sure that I had something lined up. I made sure that while I was working in radio, I was also building up my resume enough and building up the experience I need to take on, different clients in the social media area. And where my specific genre per se would be was comedy. I used to do a lot of stand-up comedy. I know a lot of comedians, and it's a market where some comedians have a little bit of money, but none of them know how to do social media correctly. So I found a niche that worked for me, and I went in it. I started building up clients while I had this other job and networking, getting referrals from clients that I already currently had. And then it just kind of spread to the point where next thing you know, I got 5 or 6 clients on the side. I'm building VGF and everything else. And here we are today. I'm out of radio, outside of doing this with you guys, and I am doing full-time social media marketing and management.
And some of these clients, which I don't know if you can reveal who they are, they're like mainstream comedians and so this is like higher end clientele that actually have money, like household names. And so the fact that you specialized in a niche and secured clients that way is really smart. We're going to talk later on about the networking part you're talking about, because I know the two of you have gotten almost all of your gigs through networking, right? So Perrin, how did you get out of the 9-to-5 job and get that reliable revenue stream that allowed you to work from home?
I mean, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but networking. But my start, looked like, first it was a part-time contract of making videos for XSplit. But this quickly evolved into getting into the gaming industry. So we're talking about like having a side gig here that can fuel you being a creator, so that you're already working from home and getting an income from home, which gives you more time and flexibility to be a better creator. But also you can use it as an in into the gaming industry. And this is just my story, how I started. Not everyone's going to follow this path necessarily, but it is possible. So I had zero experience with social media. I graduated college with like video editing, digital media and video degree. Did not do much with social media. There was no social media degrees when I was in college. And I came in and I
you
found
shouldn't be getting one right now, by the way. You shouldn't be paying for a social media degree right now. That's a rip
I
off.
would not
Don't do
pay
it
for a social media
100%.
degree. There is no standard of education that is going to last for any length of time there. And there almost is no expert at social media, because everybody can do it differently, and there's so many different ways of executing it. Anyway, I get into the
real quick.
industry.
Let me add a note to that real quick. So
Sure.
Don't take advice from a professor that is not currently working in social media and who's going to teach you how to be successful in social media. All right. Take advice from high-end social media consultants, us. We're actually working in social media right now. And you aren't going to learn squat in school that you couldn't just Google or listen to on a podcast like this. Please continue.
Learn from the people who are doing it and who are doing it well, and they're doing it now. So in the beginning, I started no social media experience, right? I wanted an in into the gaming industry, and I had a couple like potential opportunities that just didn't really work out. But the one that did was working on and operating and managing social media for TGN, a gaming brand. And there are tons of these out there, and there's always going to be a need for social media and gaming brands, all different types of gaming brands. There's going to be that need. And almost every brand has a need for social media. And so this is a really common role that you can fill, that you don't necessarily need any prior experience. I had zero. I barely even used Facebook myself, and I like never used Twitter myself. And I jumped into this gig operating social media and began starting. And it started at a pretty high salary rate. I started something like mid 50s or maybe a little bit lower there, just out the get-go, even with little experience, because it was a high demand position that was needed. And luckily the business understood the high demand that was needed in the gaming space. What led me to be good at it is that I was a gamer, and that I understood gaming audiences, and I understood what memes were. I understood what meme culture is. I understood how to be relatable to other gamers, because I myself am a gamer. This is why I'm recommending this to everybody, because even if you don't have experience, you kind of do, because you're a gamer. You understand the target audience. You're going to know what works well in terms of a social post for specific games, for different gaming audiences, right? All you do is tailor that to a social media strategy. And then you're becoming a social media manager at that point. But you don't necessarily have to have all this expertise to get in to operating that. So it's a nice in the industry. It's a nice way to start earning money from home. Plus the skill sets and the stuff that you learn from executing gaming, if you happen to get into the gaming industry or not, from gaming social media execution, you could take back to your own social media strategy. You can even leverage the work that you're doing for other brands and companies through social and bring it back to yours as well too. So there's a lot of benefits. It's a great entryway to get started. You don't necessarily need a lot of experience, but it does help to have operated your own socials and show a little bit of track record, especially if you're trying to be a creator. So there's a lot of pros and there's money to be made. I'm not speaking of most of the challenges yet, and it sounds super simple right now, but it's one of the best entryways in that I don't think is talked about very often.
No, people don't talk about it because they're focusing on these other things that sound easier or flashier, that involve becoming famous essentially, and then monetizing being famous as their way of going full time as a creator. None of the three of us are famous, but we make more money
not even close.
from home doing what we love to do than 99% of creators. So here you go. So I also transitioned out of my full-time job into a paid salaried gig with TGN out the gate. I was a creator making YouTube rev. I was a Twitch partner making Twitch partnership rev. And I was brought on board full-time with TGN to build community, to do business development, and to more or less take on like a traditional job, but in like a social media and online video business. So I had that reliable revenue stream, which was essentially an online job, to replace my physical 9-to-5 job. All three of us did that. And virtually everyone that came up through TGN, which is close to a dozen creators that worked with us, are now full-time, started part-time, got a salaried gig with us. I hired them. And then they eventually went full-time after they had worked years and years and years from home, building their gaming channel and their stream in the background behind that salaried gig that they were doing with us, till eventually that could pay all of their bills. But they needed the salary job with us to get to that place. So your goal is to work from home so you can really put in the time and the energy with your rig and everything you have in your home office right in front of you to make content in between doing that salaried gig. Got it? Good. So how much money can you actually make? So we talked about how gigs can start out salaried, full-time gigs can start out $50K per year. That is not unreasonable at all for an online consultant to make salaried, especially if you are English speaking US market. What would you guys say would be an expectation for starting mid-tier and then high-tier social media consultants if you're working full-time for a company, guys?
Full-time for a company, entry level, which would probably put you in the social media specialist role, would probably be 35 to 45,000 a year salaried to start. That would be entry level. You would easily be able to move into like 50s with a couple of years of experience. Or if you had 2 to 4 years experience coming in, you might be able to get hired at like 45 to 55. Anywhere 5+ years, you should be looking at like 60+. And I'm talking USD mostly. I mean, Canadian might be similar there, but USD rates 5+ years, 60K or more a year.
Yeah. And if you're like 10+ year, if you're like 10 years or so and you're like a senior social media manager working for a company, you could go 75 to 100, depending on the company and how much money and value they place on socials. That's full-time salary types of positions with traditional companies. Let's compare that though to being a consultant for a company. How much more money can you make just like as a consultant for a company, and they just book you, be like, hey man, run our socials for a 6-month contract? How much more money is that versus the salary range we talked about a moment ago? We could start 35, 40. As a consultant, do you start higher than that?
Yeah, and as a consultant, you would definitely want to come in higher than that, because if you're not working for a company and you're working from home, you're likely to not have health coverage, and you're not going to get taxes pulled out of your paychecks. So you need to be charging 15% higher or so. So instead of coming in at 35 to 45, you want to come in like 50 to 55 or 50 to 60 to start with.
Right.
And that's entry level, right? So this, with a bit of a nuance, you want to make sure that you're finding a company that is a little bit savvy with remote consultants. There will be companies who won't see a difference between an office employee and a consultant. And so they won't be willing to pay you that much more. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go for that. You should always go for that amount, because as a remote consultant, unless that client is giving you health benefits in some way, you have to compensate for that out of your own pocket. So they need to be paying you more for it.
That makes sense. Now, hourly may be an option that comes up in negotiations with a company as you're working. You're looking to book a remote gig, or a creator's looking to book you, or whoever. But personally, I think we can skip over this one. You should never work hourly as a social media manager. I think that's dumb. And I just don't think you should agree to an hourly rate. What do you guys think? Do you disagree?
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, if you can at all avoid it, I would not do hourly. The nature of social media management, especially, it's very, very hard to track your time and to report hourly time. For social media managers, like, you need to constantly be monitoring it. You may as well just have a time log that just says all day, because you're supposed to be watching it all day. Are you actually technically working? Maybe you're just watching it at that point in time. But the point of a social media manager is you need to be responsive, and you have to know what's going on in the feeds almost at all times. So it just does not mesh with having an hourly pay scale. And it's really, really hard to like timesheet it. It's almost impossible to timesheet. So
you can't.
That's right.
I would not go for hourly if you can avoid it.
Yeah, if somebody gives you a timesheet as a social media manager, you're just gonna be like, so what you can do to get out of that situation is you can say, okay, you can pay me by the hour this amount, and quote them a very high amount. Or you can put me on retainer, and I will be available for, up to a certain amount of time per week for your company at this much lower rate. But I'm not going to report the number of hours I'm working for you. And so you can use that as leverage to have freedom to work from home. So the point being, you don't want somebody hawking every minute you spend as a social media manager or as anybody working from home. So you can have as much freedom as possible to make gaming content, to live stream, to run your life, and to have that freedom that you wanted working from home, and not having to clock in like you're working in a fucking factory. Like, don't let somebody put you in there at an hourly clock. Like, that's ridiculous. Okay. So that's the money part. Okay. So starting out 30 to 55K, after a few years, 55 to 65K. And after close to 10 years, you can get 75 to 100K as a social media manager. That's good money. That's a lot of money. But what skills do you need, and what jobs will you actually be doing as a social media manager? The results and the answer will actually surprise you. So what does a social media manager actually do, Perrin? Just post memes, right? And then like get paid. Yeah.
There was a time period for about a couple months where that was my job, but that was like maybe 4 months out of the 10 years I've done social media stuff.
Yeah,
so,
we had like a meme pipeline
awesome.
and meme library and stuff that we did, and we had like a meme curator. It was a meme factory.
Yeah,
but it worked.
We went into pretty in depth, and it did work, and it was a great strategy. But that's just it. It's all about strategy. So as a social media manager, when you're going for manager specifically, you manage everything about social media for that company or that client, including personnel, the accounts, account security, access, content, the strategy, the money spent on it. You manage everything. Like, mostly in companies and with clients, when they get to social media, they don't want to do anything with it, and they don't want to have to do anything with it. They want to be able to hand it off to somebody, aka the social media manager, and they want that person to take care of everything, all the details, everything that's posted. That means if on Twitter someone is bad mouthing your brand, that's you, social media manager. That's on you. You're gonna solve that. How are you gonna solve that, right? So it means everything having to do with social media, because most clients, most businesses really, really want to off their plates and just have it be one person's responsibility. So that's it. You're gonna be responsible for the whole gamut, and that includes all of the different types of social media you might operating. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are the main three. YouTube could technically be included in this in some cases. And my experience, we've separated that and always had different teams for that as well, that as the social media manager has worked directly with, because YouTube has been we've mainly worked for creator YouTube-esque clients. So YouTube is more of a main focus. But if YouTube is not a main focus of like the core business, then it could be lumped into the social media manager's responsibilities. Any type of social media network, LinkedIn could be on there as well, right? So, and especially the new ones that pop up. So it would be your responsibility to manage all of that. Now, as a creator, you're specifically set with a little bit of experience in having done that because you have to do that for your own brand. You have to control the whole gamut of your brand on every single destination, right? So you already have a little bit of experience doing that. And if you don't, this is a good way of getting it. This is a good way of understanding how to manage everything in a time efficient way, how to execute content on each one. And that's something I didn't talk about. That's probably what everybody thinks social media management is executing content on the social media platforms. I would say that's like 10% of the actual job, at least from my experience.
Oh yeah, 10% tops. Like posting is almost nothing for a social media manager. It's like those freaking meetings with managers and talking to the PR guy and getting the graphics done and planning the content. Like there's so like everything is behind the scenes. There's what you see in the feed is like a tiny sliver of what the job actually is.
Yeah, literally. A lot of it will be determining why you should even be doing anything on social in the first place, because a lot of
justifying your job. Yeah.
Get used to justifying your job and why social media needs to be operated for a company or a client, because they know they need to in the back of their minds. Like they know they need to be on social because every other business is on socials, right? But they really want a reason to not have to do it. And so they're going to be looking for those reasons. And if you're not providing them with counter arguments, you might be out of a client gig or a client job. So you're going to need to defend why social media needs to exist in the first place. So if you already have like fundamental, issues on like even being on social media yourself or seeing the value of it, then this could be a difficult path to go down.
Literally, your social media accounts are literally the voice of your brand. Like this is the 21st century. Fewer and fewer people are picking up the phone to call your business. They're going on social media. So the person who is in charge of social media is literally your first line of defense. They have to be able to communicate with your customers and potential customers via text, which is very hard to do. We all see every day you're texting with your friend and they misconstrue something that you say. But another thing that is also required, and this is actually, Perrin brought up this point, and it was really good, is that you'll be surprised that as a creator, how many of these things that you're going to see in a lot of social media job applications, you already actually have. Like for example, development of brand awareness, SEO and generation of inbound traffic, deliberate planning, goal setting, strategy, reputation management, content management, kind of like what we talked about, cultivation of leads and sales. If you're looking for a social media manager, rather, you got to find somebody that's highly motivated, somebody that's creative with experience, and most importantly, a passion for helping others. Because that passion for helping others is what's going to A, turn fans into customers, and then B, turn customers into advocates.
Wow, I feel like I should hire you right now. Oh, wait, I do. I hire you every time I have a gig and I can bring you on board. Like this pitch right here, whenever I go to a company, I'm like, you should hire Ross. And then Ross says fire like that in the meeting. And they're like, okay, I'll hire you. So it's so true. And just from a very practical standpoint too, guys, it used to be sufficient as a community manager, let's say, or a social media manager. Those two jobs can be the same thing, by the way. So look for community management jobs too. But it used to be sufficient to be able to post content and then to interact with the community. And then that was the job. But that's not it anymore. It's not just these management elements we were telling you a moment ago, or the sales elements. You have to know how to Photoshop. So you have to make your own images to post on socials yourself a lot of the time. You probably won't have a designer to do it for you. You need to become a video editor. You'll have to edit your own clips and your own videos to post on that social feed. You'd be surprised to know how many major companies, the junior community manager made that big video that's released on the feed. That's the big update. And he's the one that clipped it, not some cinematics team or like some huge video editing and production team. It's the community manager that did that. So design and video editing are essential skills. And another skill that's very important, and Andrew Perrin can help you with this too if you email him, but learning how to run at least basic advertising on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram specifically is very important. Just to do sponsored posts, just to build followers, to get that sales message out there, to help the company download, get downloads on their app, to help sell the game if you're working for a developer, whatever it may be. Understanding basic advertising to be able to do these functions isn't just a plus for a social media manager, it's a job requirement. So start learning those things now, get a mentor, work with somebody, start watching YouTube videos and start practicing it on your own accounts, because those are essential practical skills that are mandatory for the job at this point. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, so I would say the basic assumptions, if you're going into social media management and you want to go straight into management, you're going to need to have a little bit more than an entry level understanding of advertising. The chances are the client that you're going to be working for or the company is going to have some goals in terms of spending money on accounts. And if they don't, it's in your best interest coming into that job, convincing them to spend some money on it. Because for you to grow, let's say a Twitter account from 0 to something substantial is going to take 5 years. A lot of times, whatever justification you have for that, which is, that's the Twitter algorithm. That's how this stuff works. You can be like so engaged as you want to, and it'll still take like 5 years. If you don't have advertising,
well, isn't this what Ross says? Isn't this what Ross says? Where like the first question he asks a client before he takes them on is, "What's your budget?" Right, Ross? Yeah. And if the number is small, he's out.
Yeah.
If the client doesn't have any money to spend on advertising, you should leave, right?
You're set up to fail. Well, if they don't have money to spend on social, you're set up to fail. So don't even take that gig. Like Ross is saying.
The safe bet is you're being set up to fail. But it also depends on who it is, what kind of content they already have to work with and things like that. It also depends on the platform's algorithm. Like Twitter, you can get a lot more organic reach on Twitter than what you can on Facebook. If you're trying to grow a Facebook page, as we all know, you're paying a lot of money to try and grow that page because that's their business model. So yeah, if they don't have a big advertising budget, depending on what they want to do, it's a huge red flag.
If the number is 0, if they're like, yeah, we just want to like engage the community and we just want you to respond and we just want you to come up with great strategies. And then you're like, cool. So what's the budget? Oh, we're going to figure that out. Run as fast as you can because you're going to get fired from that job within a couple months. They're going to be like, I'm not seeing the numbers go up, and be like, yeah, the numbers didn't go up because you didn't have a budget, idiot. So don't take the job if they have no budget. Don't do it. Like you said, they're always looking for a reason to fire you if you're a social media manager. Man, we're making this sound not so good as we get into the episode.
Well, we got to get into the challenges a bit because in the beginning, it's easy to get into this line of work and it can be easy to supplement income. But if you don't know how to circumnavigate how businesses think about social media, then you're gonna have a difficult time. So hopefully we can save you a bit of those headaches here by giving a feel of what that would be like. And whenever you find these roles, to avoid some of these larger pitfalls, basically what we're saying here, if we want to boil this down, is if you're going to find a role in social media, make sure that they have metrics that they measure for success that you can meet. For example, number of followers per month, number of engagements per month. If they don't have those and they don't have a budget, when someone is thinking, and this is inevitable, I really just don't want to be on social anymore. This happens. How many times do you hear about your friend quitting Facebook? How many times do you hear about so-and-so quitting Twitter? And then 2 months later, they're coming back. Businesses do this too. They suddenly think, you know what? I don't want to be on social media. Let's just can it and get rid of it. Then you're fired. If you have metrics that you've been meeting and you have numbers that you've met, it's a much more difficult scenario for them to say, we need to cut that because I just feel like it. Well, you've met all your metrics. You've hit these numbers. Yeah. You are executing socials well. You're going to give you job security. And as a creator, if you're doing this as a side gig, you don't want to spend all your time trying to get another social media side gig because you keep having high turnover. You want to keep it secure. You want to keep something for quite a while. So make sure you've got metrics. make sure you've got, and if there's a budget involved, make sure there is a budget, first of all, and that it has metrics in its spending and it has goals that you can meet. That way you have some job security. Also, get a stellar contract.
I mean, yes. Oh, and just in the last episode, Derek, who head of production at a talent agency for creators, he said he just quit Instagram. So, like in just our last episode. So, yes, people quit social media all the time. And guess who runs companies? Guess who's going to be your boss? People. So, how do you actually get these jobs? Well, personal marketing is one thing. Building a strong personal brand. I'll talk about that in a moment. But networking is everything. We'll get into the everything in just a minute. So building a personal brand is a good start. So what I mean by that is, all of you guys out there that are gaming creators, you probably have your gaming brand. It's probably your, gamer tag or some sort of like inside thing. And you're releasing some content. You're somewhat active on the internet. That's great. I don't think anybody's going to book that to run their socials, though. They're probably going to want to book a human being with a real name. And so what you need to consider is being on camera in your content as much as possible so that people can see that you're a real person and you're not just a gaming personality. That's a huge factor. And you also need to seriously consider being on LinkedIn and creating a LinkedIn profile that's just you. So just a mugshot of you looking professional, building a profile that lists out your skills and your aspirations. And on LinkedIn right now, you can list that you are looking for consulting gigs, and you can put like social media there as well. And on LinkedIn, you can put as your job title whatever you want. And guess what you can put there if you're looking for social media gigs or community management gigs? You can say that you are a social media and community manager as your job title. And guess what happens? When people are searching for that on LinkedIn, they'll find you. So with personal branding, you can get a lot of traction. You can write articles about social media management. You can post about social media trends and really hustle on sites like LinkedIn in particular to build your personal professional brand. And people will reach out to you to book you like magic. I have done this for years, for the last 5 years on LinkedIn. I've got like close to 20,000 followers now hustling on that platform. I will never apply for a job ever again. People just contact me all the time because I stay active on LinkedIn. I am posting about my expertise in my story. I've listed all my experience on my profile and optimized it for SEO so people can search for me for social media management, YouTube management, and what have you. And I'll never have to apply for a job ever again. And so building a personal brand is your long-term play to where you don't have to try as hard, is what I'm trying to say, to get that next gig. There's always people soliciting you to be on board with that next gig. So personal brand can help contribute to that, but it takes a while and it takes a lot of effort. What is much easier, but still requires effort, is networking. Because if you know people that know how good you are at your job, then they're just going to refer you, right? And that's where Andrew Perrin and Ross come into play, because you guys were telling me, and we talked at the beginning of the episode, literally every gig you've ever gotten was a referral or a networking of some description, right?
Yeah. All of my gigs I've ever gotten are through some other person that I had connected with working in some other capacity. So here's a good example. As a gaming content creator now, I didn't necessarily have this path whenever I first started, but it's evolved over time. And you can actually take this path in a way that helps you as a gaming creator. So if you want to have, I always think of it as like getting involved in the gaming community in some way. Because if you're involved in the community and then you're doing community-oriented work, you're kind of lending itself to social media management, because social media management is managing a community on social media. So a great way to get started, for example, would be take your favorite streamer, even though you might be one yourself, and become a moderator in their community and help manage their community, help build their Discord server, help lay that out, help become a pillar in their community. The people that you network, the other gamers that you network with there, are going to be important professional connections for you later on. Also, you're building a name for yourself in another community, which you can kind of leverage your own, creator profile in tandem with that, not necessarily promoting it, but other people will come to know you for your value in terms of community building, and they might go check out your channel as well. So that's a good way to get started in kind of the community oriented aspect, meeting other people, working directly with other people in a fun way. And you can take a streamer with a game that you really like, that's your favorite, and get involved. So it's something that doesn't seem like work. You're involved in a gaming community. This is essentially how I got started. I used to build gaming communities myself, and the people that I met by working on those communities ended up being professional connections later in my career, helping fuel new opportunities and pushing leads my way, because they knew, hey, this Andrew Perrin guy, he knows how to make communities. He's done social media for it. He's particularly good at like leading them and managing discussions and organizing them in specific ways. And when they run into a scenario where they need somebody like that, they think of you because you've already done that work successfully on your own in a proactive way, and you get involved. So you can do it in a way where it's not work. It supplements your channel by getting your name out there. And it can be fun. It can be really, really fun, and it can teach you how to build a community on Discord or whatever yourself. So that would be my recommendation. I didn't have Discord whenever I first started, and Twitch had like just begun. So really it was YouTube, Twitter, Facebook was where I got my beginnings of building community. But we used to do it in voice comm software, Skype, Dolby Accent was a thing a long time ago before.
Oh my gosh, I forgot
Discord.
about that one. Also, TeamSpeak was kind of a thing then too. Yeah.
TeamSpeak was one for a while. Voice comms are always important, and it's you really want people to be able to hear your voice when you're doing that type of work, or see you and hear your voice on camera. So video calls are important for that type of thing. But get involved. Getting involved in communities is networking. You're working with other individuals, pursuing common goals in the gaming communities, especially in the gaming creator community. Then you're killing two birds with one stone there. You're getting your name out there. You're getting involved. You're making contacts. Those people are going to be helpful to you later down the road.
It's really true.
Yeah,
just to build on that, with just real quick, Ross, with Blizzard Entertainment, I've gone out to a bunch of cocktail hours with them at different cons and stuff on the Overwatch community management team, Heroes of the Storm community management team. And what I would do is I would go I would target at the cocktail hours the new guy, whoever that was, or girl or woman, and I would ask them how long ago they started, how they like working at Blizzard, and how they got started there, and how they got the job. 100% of those people were just creators making content about the game that were interacting with the account on social media, or were already streaming the game and involved, and then they got hired by being a member of the community. 100%.
Nope, that's fascinating. That was a good note to kind of end that on. Real quick, I will say that when you're first starting out, if you want to get some kind of experience under your belt, something to kind of get the resume juices going a little bit, you may have to take it on the chin. And like you said, you may have to start volunteering and doing a couple for free just to build your resume. What I did is a comedian that I used to be friends with, he's not necessarily a big name, but I started saying, hey, I got an idea for how we can do some advertising on this. Do you care if I try it out on your account for free? And we'll see. 100% of the time, they're going to say yes, because you have somebody that's helping them professionally. And we ended up selling out a show. Next thing you know, that's leading to paid gigs, more clients, referrals, and everything else. So don't be afraid to jump in like they're talking about and actually do some work for free. And if you're going to do some work for free, it might as well be something that you really enjoy and that you're really passionate about. So you can really keep, like I said, keep those juices going and stay motivated and stay inspired.
My wife works for a museum right now as a curator, and this is another way to do this. You may work for something that has nothing to do with gaming or nothing to do with tech or digital. My wife works for a museum, and she just decided to take on running the Instagram account for the museum. And now she's been doing that for 6 months. Pretty soon it'll be a year. Pretty soon, she'll have real numbers that she's done, shows that she's sold out, advertising that she's run, example posts. And so if any gig comes up in the future where like she wanted to be a social media manager or be in marketing or do something that's related to sales or marketing, she now has real experience that she can put on her resume and to book those additional gigs. So another path can be, you may work for a small business. You may work for like a real estate company or something, and they may Like you're looking at their socials and their socials suck. You know what you can do? Volunteer to do some free work on that account. Just say, give me a crack at it. I bet they'll let you do it. If they have nobody running it, or they like have this like one of the managers doing it, do it for free and get that experience under your belt. And then guess what you can put down? Social media manager for this business as something I did before. Real work experience. They don't have to know you didn't get paid any money to do it. But it's on your resume now.
They're not going to ask. First of all, what are they going to call all of your employers? How much did you pay this person? No, that literally
how much did you pay that person?
Is history of hiring.
Yeah,
anyone.
You're not allowed. You're not supposed to ask that question. You're not even allowed to ask that question. It's just like they assume you got paid a good salary, even if you did it for free.
And plus another just last thing, another quick bonus about actually doing this kind of work for free is you get to kind of experiment without worrying about job security. You can kind of play around with different ideas and stuff that you think might work, but you wouldn't be testing on necessarily, like if you were on a payroll or a salary or something like that. So this gives you an opportunity to really test the waters and try and build your own unique strategy that can help the individual or company or whoever it is actually legitimately grow right out of the bat.
Yep. Gaming creators doing extra work like freelancing, consulting, social media management is the way most of us get here and get it done. Bet nobody told you that before except for us, because they don't know, because they're noobs and they suck. But you know who doesn't suck? Andrew Perrin doesn't suck. And if you want to hire Andrew Perrin, how can people hire you right now? I know that you're almost always fully booked, but are you taking on clients in 2020? What's the deal, man?
I almost always have myself open to new clients, new opportunities. I find that as a consultant, you always want to be open and have opportunities coming in through the door. And I'll make it simple. If you want to reach out to me, the best way to book me is email. Keep it professional. ashraldigital@gmail.com. ASHRAL digital@gmail.com.
Okay, cool. Ross, I know you're always taking on new clients because you're just like psychotic. You work like 220 hours a week. So if somebody wants to hire you, how can they hire you?
Email is also the best way. rossadillon@gmail.com. That's DILLON.
There you go. That's the episode. I hope you guys got some value out of it. Thank you so much for listening to the Digital Drop Podcast, and we encourage you to subscribe on the podcasting platform of your choice so you don't miss our weekly episodes. We're also on Twitter @Digital Drop Pod and on YouTube if you want video versions. If there was one nugget of information in this episode that helped you, just subscribe for the love of God. It could be that one thing that changes your trajectory and actually makes this thing happen for you. Don't count on getting 500,000 subs and getting YouTube money to go full time. Do it the smart way. Do it the practical way. Do it the more reliable way, like we have. Good luck, creators.